Good day, everyone. This is Eric from Helps. Like to welcome you to Helps YouTube Live today, August 25th, 2025. My name is Eric Olsen, founder of Helps. Helps is a national law firm that represents seniors and disabled persons in order to stop debt collector harassment. We have two missions. First mission is to protect seniors from collector harassment. We do that under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and our second mission is to educate seniors how they can maintain their financial independence. So how do we protect seniors? Well, okay, so the topic today was, just want to be educated about credit cards sent for collections because I could not pay. Okay, so if you're a senior and you receive Social Security, pension, disability, VA benefit, virtually any type of retirement, you should understand that your retirement income is protected by federal and state laws. Okay, it can't be taken from you. Federal law protects Social Security, veterans benefits, and then there's also a federal law called um, ERISA, Employment Retirement Income Security Act of 1974. That law protects the vast majority of pensions from garnishment. Okay, and if you have a pension that isn't protected under ERISA, it will be protected under a state law. In 46 years of practice, soon to be 47, I've never seen a pension ever garnished. Okay, it's protected. And so our important message to seniors is that if you're struggling financially and you have debt you can't afford to pay, uh, you can choose to stop paying it. And there's also a federal law called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act that provides if you're represented by an attorney, debt collectors can no longer call or send demand letters anymore. They have to communicate with the attorney, and that's what Helps does. We represent seniors so you don't have to deal with collectors anymore. Okay? And they can no longer call, send demand letters, or they have to leave you alone. Okay? And we're going to talk about different things today. You can put questions in the chat feature. And then I have things that I've written down here from clients that have called. And if you're new, please don't hesitate to participate or chat. There's no question that we won't be able to deal with, and you're not going to need to worry. Okay. Um, I think the first question here, Anne says, I want to hear something. I just got a phone call saying I owed $398 to someone, but they couldn't tell me who they are. The collection, he said they will send me a letter that I didn't receive. You know, it could be a scammer. Yeah, if you're getting Social Security and pension and you get one of these calls like that, just ignore it. You can hang right up on them. Okay. You don't need to worry about it. Marty says, if I make about $3,000 a month in for Social Security and a pension, can I get on uncollectible status? It's currently not collectible status with the IRS is what it's called, but it depends. If you're single, maybe it depends on where you live, some other factors. We can send you an email about applying for that. You may be a little bit over the standard for being on currently not collectible status with IRS. They may choose not to do anything with you. Okay. The worst the IRS would do if you owed taxes, it'd be to send you, normally would be to send you a letter that they intend to offset 15% of your Social Security. I don't see the IRS going after people's pensions. They legally could, but they don't. Now we're talking about modest and lower income seniors. We're not talking about multimillionaire seniors that owe a lot of taxes. We're talking about seniors that are modest or lower income. Whether they're going to go after your Social Security or not, I don't know. I doubt it. Okay, but you can call and we talk. You can also pay those taxes over if you owe something over a period of 6 years. So there's lots of ways to deal with the taxes. Now, if you owe state taxes, a state tax collector cannot touch your Social Security. They can't touch your pension. It's protected. Okay. Okay. Mary asked, how would I find the disposition of my case? Apparently you've been sued, Mary. Did they get a judgment? Well, one thing in the vast majority of counties in the United States, you can get online and find out the status of a lawsuit, whether there's a judgment or not. So you could try that. Um, a lot of times, if you're sued and don't do anything about it, it may take them months before they ever get a judgment, many months. So, but once again, if your income is protected, like Social Security, pension, disability, VA benefits, even if they get a judgment, you do not need to worry. And then there's a rule that went into effect in 2012 that provides that twice the amount of federal benefits, such as Social Security, deposit into your checking account, that sum is automatically protected by your bank from garnishment, regardless if there's other funds in there. Okay? So this person who contacts earlier says, just want to be educated about credit cards, sent for collections, I could not pay. Yeah, you can, if you have credit card debt you can't afford to pay, and they've sent them to collections, or even if they haven't sent them to collections and you're just unable to pay it and you don't want to be harassed by debt collectors, call helps. 855-435-7787. That's what we do, is we represent seniors and disabled persons to stop debt collector harassment. I'm glad to have you here today. Okay. Um, so Kat asked, um, Eric, what is the statute of limitations after help send cease and desist letters that credit cards and their legal department will end contacting you for anything? Um, well, the statute of limitations has a different meanings, but and normally what it means is, when's the deadline that they can file a lawsuit? Okay, and it depends on state law. And typically it could be 5 years, it could be 6 years, it could be 3 years, it could be longer, but that's normally what it would be. And it normally runs it from the date when you incurred the debt, or when you last made a payment. So for example, if the statute of limitations was 5 years and then you made a payment, a month before the 5 years, then you got another 5 years before they could sue if they wanted to. But once again, uh, they may never choose to sue, and if they did, if your income's protected, you're really not going to need to worry about it. You're not going to need to go to court. Don't need to be concerned now. Uh, when people enroll in helps, we send a letter to your debt collectors you owe money to. We let them know that your income's protected. I think it makes it less likely they would choose to sue. They could still sue, and if one of our clients gets sued, we call you on that. You get us a copy of the lawsuit. We call you on the phone, explain to you why you're not going to need to go to court, why you don't need to worry. We send you emails with articles and videos that explain why you're going to be okay, why your assets are safe. Then we're actually going to send a letter to the attorney who sued you and let them know that your income is protected, that we understand they're going to get a judgment. Remind them of the protected nature of your bank account, although we really don't need to do that because your bank knows the law and they automatically protect twice the amount of federal benefits in your account. So if you're sued, we'd probably want you to have one account, and that's the account to which your Social Security and or another federal benefit is deposited. So if you got 1,500 in Social Security and 500 in VA benefits, that'd be 2,000 times two would be 4,000 protected. Now, if you happen to have more than that, someone sued and got a judgment, and you had more than 4,000, then the excess could be held up. Then a, a challenge of garnishment or claim of exemption would need to be filed. Occasionally, we need to help our clients do that, but most of the times, our clients they'll tell us, well, we never have more than twice the amount of my federal benefits in my account at any one time. Okay, so not to worry. Should I respond to emails from collectors telling them I can't pay them and judgment fool, or just ignore them? Um, I don't know. I normally say you don't need to communicate with the creditors. I mean, you got to realize if you tell someone you can't pay it, or your judgment proof. They don't even listen to that normally coming from you. I mean, their job is to try to collect the debt. So, and sometimes if you communicate with them, they try to get under your skin. Sometimes I'll talk to people. I haven't said this for a long time, but I'll talk to someone who's been particularly picked on by a debt collector because they continue to communicate with the debt collector. And I tell that person, you're a live one. And they'll wonder what I mean. I say, because you actually communicated with them, and now they communicate with you. You're willing to communicate. They try to get under your skin to get you to make arrangements to make the payment. Now, if you're a dead one and you don't communicate with them, and then they kind of give up, but they like live ones, so someone that will communicate with them, that will try to say, well, I can't pay the debt. Well, you need to pay the debt, Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so. So you don't need to be a live one, be a dead one when it comes to debt collectors. No, I don't think you need to contact them. Doesn't do any good. The guy that's collecting the debt has no authority to waive the debt or say, okay, we're not going to collect from you anymore. He might put a note in the file, but that's it. Okay. Katrina says, uh, I've been checking my court dockets a couple times a week to see if any judgments are there. I'm my own worst enemy. I'm my own worst enemy. Laugh out loud. Yeah, it's okay. You know, helps was started to protect own worst enemies, Katrina. Because I did about 30, 40,000 bankruptcies, and then finally realized that just so many seniors could not afford to file bankruptcy, and they didn't need to file bankruptcy, but they were just worried about this. And so helps was started so we could represent seniors so they would stop worrying. So that's what we do. If you're a natural born worrier and worried about this debt, and you can contact helps. We're glad to help you. We don't turn anyone away that qualifies for our service. The cost is absolutely minimal. We want to be able, and we represent you ongoing. It's not just one time. It's literally forever, so you never have to deal with collectors again. Okay. Laura says, Thank thank you so much, Eric, for being there. Why do other channels keep giving us doom and gloom every day about our Social Security? They have a different scenario that changes day. I don't know. I don't know. Your Social Security is not going anywhere. Let's see. This picture right here, you see it? Okay, that's Roosevelt signed the Social Security Act, 1935. Okay, and that's a labor secretary, the first woman labor secretary, first woman cabinet minister who put that law together. Now, Social Security is going to be here forever. It's not going anywhere. Okay, I don't care what anyone says. It's not going anywhere. We talked about it. Sometimes, they call Social Security the third rail. The third rail. Okay. Now, what does that mean? Well, in Europe, okay, there was a lot of electric trains, and if the third rail was the one that carried the juice, and the two other rails on the outside were, uh, um, the other connector. And if you type the middle rail, the third rail, and one of the other rails, you get electrocuted. And that's why congressmen are not going to touch Social Security. Now they talk about how it's going to run out of money. Nah, don't worry. There'll be laws passed that will extend it. They've already done a lot of things already. Social Security isn't going to go anywhere. And the other thing too is, there's a lot of websites that never tell you things that we talk about here. The fact that your income's protected, you can stop paying the debt, you can stop the creditors from harassing you. There's almost a concerted effort by debt collectors and by even companies helping seniors who have debt to withhold the information from seniors that their income is protected. There's a lot debt management companies, the profit and no profit ones, the nonprofit and for-profit ones, with rare exception, will not tell a senior, by the way, you don't need our help because your income's protected. Instead, they'll sign them up, putting some of them into utter poverty, making payments they can't afford. Okay, so they do it for selfish reasons, I think. Maybe the guy you talk to on the phone, he just doesn't know any better, but the uppity ups know. I've been trying for many weeks to reach the IRS to discuss my missed quarterly payment for the last year's taxes. Called on lane, both unanswered. What trouble is this causing? Well, they're busy, and yeah, um, you may need to wait till they send you a letter and then try to respond then. So Jimmy won $100 in the casino game. Um, okay, here we go. Eric, if you use your Social Security money to buy crypto, are you vulnerable to a collector with a judgment? My only income is Social Security. Uh, I think cryptocurrency would be nigh near to impossible for anyone to garnish. Okay, and whatever little amount you could get from your cryptocurrency from Social Security, when I can't imagine under any scenario would that would ever be at risk. Okay. 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 Here's person contacts us from California. Okay. He says, I'm 64 years old. I have a lot of credit card debt that I can't pay. I just I've just become late in August this month. I've used all my savings, a little bit of retirement I had, used credit cards to pay each other. I'm all out of resource. You've heard me talk about this before. Sometimes we have clients call us and it's like they've dug a hole and they thrown the dirt out of the hole and they borrow on their credit cards to keep making the payments. And finally, they're at the very bottom and they start throwing the dirt out. They can't get it over the lip and it comes tumbling back down on them. That's where this guy's at. Okay. I can no longer make the minimum payments. I was laid off in May of 2020 due to COVID, tried to find another job with no success. Um, he tells this story. He started doing Uber, he says, and used that to pay his bills back then. But then he got hurt. Okay. Trying to make money in any way he can to keep up with his debt. Identity theft. Okay. Now he says I get 1,054 in Social Security and I make $200 a week delivering for Uber. I've never been late on my credit card since 2007. They are calling me and emailing me one day after the payment is due. They're calling me and emailing me one day after. I don't know what to do. I can't make the minimum anymore. I have no assets, but I am still paying on my car, which I need. Should I file bankruptcy? I don't know what to do at this point. Thank you for your help. You don't need to file bankruptcy. Okay. I mean, you could. Sometimes people call and I tell them they got three choices. You don't need to do anything because no one can do to you. You could file bankruptcy, but you don't need to. You can't afford it. It costs that much money. Third option is if you don't want to be harassed by the creditors, you contact helps. We'll represent you so the creditors have to leave you alone. So if your only income is Social Security and you're driving for Uber, no one can garnish the Uber wages. I haven't seen Uber be garnished. You get paid immediately with Uber. They don't hold a bunch of money for you. So if they tried to garnish Uber, which they wouldn't do, but if they did, they'd have to hit you right after you drove um, someone. It just won't happen. So you're going to be okay. Should I file bankruptcy? We have emails that we have a bunch of stock emails, like 400 or 500 of them. One is helps versus bankruptcy, where I talk about bankruptcy. Sometimes bankruptcy could make sense. It's very rare, but it could. I'm not afraid to recommend someone to file bankruptcy when it could make sense. Um, but it's called helps versus bankruptcy, and I know bankruptcy because I filed tens of thousands of them. I don't know what to do at this point. Thank you for your help. You can contact us, or we're going to contact you. If you reach out to us, and we're going to go over your your situation, what your options are. The nice thing about helps is we represent you ongoing. It's not one time. You're literally our client forever. That way, if you have a debt collector and we send out cease and desist letters and they leave you alone, and if they sell it to a new debt collector down the road, then you get us that new debt collector. We're going to send them a cease and desist letter. So you're going to be fine. Uh, uh, hello, Eric. Out of desperation, I loaned 800 by the tribe. You borrowed some money, payday loan from a payday loan based on a reservation, I'm thinking. And I'm making $500 in payments, which they take out of my bank after paying my balance. So I stop payment. Yeah, you can. See, payday loans set up in Indian reservations sometimes for one reason, and that's because the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, part of the law doesn't apply in Indian reservations. Now, I think there's been a couple cases where they've tried to sue them in the reservations, but for a long time they'd set up an Indian reservations. Why'd they do that? So they could violate the law in trying to collect from people. They do the same thing. They've set up um, payday loan companies are set up overseas. In fact, I could get on the internet and average in overseas payday loans, and they advertise as though that's a real neat thing that you can borrow money from overseas on a payday loan. Well, the only reason they do that is if you don't owe the money, they could call and threaten you. You're going to jail and say all these terrible things. They're going to send Guido out. I don't care what they could say anything. Guido out to collect from you, or threaten you and scare you and to intimidate you into making payments, because then you couldn't sue them because they're located somewhere else. They're located who knows where, not in the United States of America. So you don't need to do anything by the loan. They're eventually going to leave you alone. I payday loans, they don't sue. I mean, even if they did sue, they couldn't collect from you if your income's protected, like we've been talking about here. So how can they do that? How can they have such a high payment? Well, the interest they charge is so high, and they do anything they can. Some people just pay it, but no, you don't have to. So if you're wrapped up with a payday loan, you could stop paying it. Now, if someone has a judgment against you and you made arrangements to make payments, do you need to keep paying it? No. If your income is protected, you could stop making the payment. They can't collect from you. Remember, they can't touch your Social Security. They can't touch your pension. It's protected. It's protected in your bank account, even though you may have made an agreement with them after a judgment. You can always call Helps and talk to us. We'll go over your situation with you. So this person contacts us. They say, I'm 100% disabled veteran who is now in debt that I cannot afford to pay on my own. When I exited the military, I was positive 75,000 in savings, and now I'm in debt about 40,000 with no money in savings. Please help. Well, you can contact us and we'll be able to help you. Um, you have 40,000 in debt. You're getting VA disability, which is protected, and since it's a federal benefit, if someone were to sue you, twice the amount you get each month is protected automatically by your bank from garnishment, regardless of what other funds are in there or where they came from. So you're going to be okay. Don't need to worry. Um, this is a comment I read on one of our videos. They said, tell the judge you only have Social Security income and ask that the creditor be required to show cause hearing before grabbing money from your account. No need to do that. Um, if your only income is Social Security, like I've said, twice that sum in your bank account is automatically protected by your bank from garnishment without you having to do anything. You don't need to ask the judge for a show cause hearing or something like you've been reading too much, been studying too much. No, it's protected automatically. Okay? So someone contacted, or I saw a comment on a short video that we did through senior living about how if you're getting Social Security disability or disability income, that you can have your student loans discharged. You don't have to pay them without having to do anything really, or very little work. And the comment was, "How is that? Why is that? Why don't I have to pay my student loan if I'm getting Social Security disability?" So I'll read you this. Federal student loans can be waived through Total and Permanent Disability (TPD) program, discharge program, which forgives your debt if you have a physical or mental impairment that prevents you from engaging in any substantial gainful activity, means working for pay, for at least 5 years and is expected to last for that long or is expected to result in death. So if you if you if you're disabled and you're going to die with sooner than 5 years, okay, that qualifies you too. To qualify, you typically need a medical professional to certify your disability, or you may qualify automatically if you receive Social Security disability benefits or a qualifying veteran. So if you get Social Security disability, they've already determined that you're disabled, or if you're disabled veteran, and just some forms you fill out, and you get the student loan discharged. Okay, won't have to worry about it again. Miss H asks, when a person or neighbor leaves you an inheritance and they have a lien or old, will they hold up that uh, what was left to you from them? Highly unlikely, because if someone had okay, a judge, someone would have to have a judgment. Okay, um, and then a judgment is a lien on. Normally, it would only be a lien on real property. That's a home on dirt in the county where the judgment is located. That would typically be the case. But if you were getting an inheritance from someone, it wouldn't be a lien on that inheritance. That person, I suppose the judgment holder could try to garnish the estate, but how are they going to find out that you're getting that money? They're not. So it shouldn't be an issue. Now, if you got the money and someone had a judgment, you may want to put it in your bank account if it's going to make it over double the amount of your protected benefits. There's other places you can put and protect it. But usually clients don't have a problem with inherited money. Okay, a friend gets $530 a month Social Security due to divorce. Her house was sold and she received $130,000. Will she have to now file an income tax and claim that money? I doubt it. There's like a $250,000 exemption for taxes on sale of property. I mean, I kind of, I kind of doubt they're going to owe any taxes for the sale of that home for that amount of money. I'm talking about income taxes. Okay, very unlikely. Okay, okay. Here's a series of someone who contacted us a while back. Now, I'll just kind of this is kind of a someone contacts us. A lot of people talk to us more than 3 or 4 times before they decide to enroll. Some talk to us 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Some over 3 or 4 years, maybe even longer before they finally decide to enroll in helps. Um, okay, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so this person contacted us on looks like February 3rd. Oh no, before that. They said they were having trouble with Discover. Can't pay them when she pays her necessities. She got a monthly payment set up with them. We told them how her income was protected. She didn't need to worry, and she could stop the auto pay. We quoted, what she would need to enroll in helps. She called back on February 3rd of this year. Apparently, they sent her. We talked yesterday, and I received a check from Discover of $66. I'm not going to cash it because I don't know why. I don't know what it is. Um, so she was got this check from them for I don't know why, but and she called again about Discover. Called again. Apparently talked to me. I said I did an extensive intake. She only really had one creditor that she was worried about, but she was very worried about it. Then she called back in March. She sells some stuff. Talked about some IRS issues. And then she called on August 18th, just a few days ago. She owes Discover $6,000. They have her on a payment plan that she can't afford. They talked her into an auto payment setup. So she's been paying them since she first talked to us in January of this year. She isn't sure what to do. We updated her information. Uh, she gets a state pension, rents, doesn't have a car. And then she finally said, okay, I'm going to stop the auto payment to Discover since I don't have to pay it. Called us 2 or 3 times on August 18th and 19th. Finally, on August 22nd, which would have been, Friday, I guess, uh, she enrolled. Okay, so it doesn't matter how many times you call before you decide to enroll. Okay, we want you to feel comfortable about what we do. Okay, will I be changing the time for the rest of the week like I did last Thursday, or is that set for Thursday? Just the Thursday time slot. So we have this same time that we have today for you, except on Thursday, we're going to do it for 2 hours later. So it would be what? 12 Pacific, 1 Mountain, 2 Central, and 3 um, um, Eastern time. Okay? But otherwise, Monday through Wednesday, it's the same time. I happen to be at Central Time, so it's 12 Central Time, 1 Eastern, 11 Mountain, 10 Pacific time. So East Salt Lake says, regarding inheritance, when you say other places to put it other than bank accounts, what are the, you know, I'll talk about that. But sometimes, you know, with our clients, they call us with a question. Sometimes they'll say, well, if you're going from New York to Los Angeles 3 years from now, I don't want to talk about what bridge you're going to use across the Mississippi till it's about ready to happen, because you could really waste a lot of time talking about that. But I'm going to ask the question. There's a lot of places to put money where, I mean, you could put it in a preloaded debit card. You could put it in cashier's check. You could put it in cash. You have someone you trust hold the money for you. But, you know, it depends on how much. You might use it to pay the debt. Okay. But you call us if that in that situation, we'll talk to you. But if no one has sued you and you don't have a judgment against you, you can put it in your own bank account. It's protected there. No one, no, someone would have to sue you, have a judgment, and know where your bank in order to be able to that money to be at risk. Okay. So this person contacts us from Wisconsin. They get about $1,100 in Social Security and $500 in a pension, and the person lives with her brother. And apparently the car is in their brother's name, has credit card debt, and is with a debt management company. And she has one lawsuit and there's a judgment. We emailed her a bunch of emails about what her rights are. So she will exit the agreement with the debt management company and call back when she's ready to sign up. She called back Friday and enrolled with Helps. Yeah, if you're with a debt settlement or debt management company and you're on Social Security or a pension and they never told you that your income was protected, in a lot of ways you were being scammed, because they withheld the most critical piece of information you deserve to know. The fact was that your income was protected, it was available for your needs. You could use it for your food, for your medicine, for a rainy day. You could save it, you could use it, protect it. But they signed you up, because of their financial interests, not yours. Okay. Okay. This person contacts us. They say the 5-year rule stating that if you don't contact your creditor, that they can't contact you again going forward is not being honored if you send a cease and desist letter. Isn't that making contact with the debtor again? They still send the debt collection later. So no, it's not. The statute of limitations has to do with, it's the time when they can file a lawsuit, and it's not based on contact. It's based on when you last made a payment or when the debt was incurred. Okay. You can contact them all you want. That doesn't revive the statute of limitations. So what's statute of limitations? That's the time. It has a lot of meanings, but as far as debt collection, and if you owe credit card debt, that's the time that a credit card company or bank has to sue you. If they have to do it within a certain amount of time, could be 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, maybe in some states it'd even be 10 years. But it depends on the type of debt. But normally a credit card debt, typically it might be 5 years. And it usually goes from the date you incurred the debt or when you last made a payment on the debt. So for example, if you had a debt that was 4 years and 11 months old since you incurred the debt, okay, and you never made a payment on it, and then now you made a payment 4 months and 11, then they'd have another 5 years to collect on the debt. Okay. It has nothing to do with contact. Okay. Now, does that mean that if it's beyond the statute of limitations, that they can't contact you about the debt. Well, they can. They just can't sue you. They can't legally threaten to sue you. I've had people call me and tell me that they've been contacted by a collection agency for debts that are nearly 20 years old. Okay. Now, if you made a payment on that 20-year-old, would it revive the statute of limitations? It depends on state law, but we get kind of muddy when we start talking about that. It doesn't happen very often that they would contact you after the statute of limitations to collect the debt, but it could. You got all these companies that are collecting debts. Sometimes they'll buy a whole raft of collections and they'll just turn them over to someone that put on the computer. And a person all day long, all he does is punch buttons and call people all day long, try to get someone to pay. If a 46-year-old gets disability and owes the IRS a large amount of money, can the IRS garnish that money? No, it's not. If you're getting disability, the IRS is going to go after your disability. No. Okay, what if the debt is a federal student loan? Someone asked. And a lot of times we talk about the same things here at Helps because we have new people that listen to us. And if you're an old pro with our YouTube video, you know the answer to this, but someone out there probably wants to hear this. Right now, they're not doing anything to collect on student loans from seniors that are getting Social Security. They were intending to offset 15% of your Social Security beginning in May, but then a month later they canceled that, and that was June 5th. July 5th, August 5th. Pretty soon it's going to be. They haven't done anything. Okay, and are they going to do something? I don't know. Probably at some point they'll do something. There used to be years ago a plan you could get on would be income-based repayment plan, but it was really difficult for seniors to get on that. It was complicated, and so hopefully, if they do try to go after 15% of someone's Social Security for a student loan, they're going to make it easier to get on income-based repayment plan where you don't have to pay anything if your income's low enough. I don't see student loans going after pensions. They don't do that. I don't see them filing lawsuits. They don't do that. Okay. They legally could, but they don't. So if you have a student loan, you're getting Social Security, probably don't need to worry about it right now. Okay. Eric, I am a client with Help. Since you sent the two creditors that have been harassing me the letters telling them that my income is protected, one of the creditors have removed it from the credit reports. It's good. I don't think they have to, but we do have a program for clients that are interested in rebuilding their credit called 7 Steps to a 720 Credit Score. If you've been part of Helps for 90 days, call us. We send you an email on how to enroll in that program. Okay. Is it okay not to pay the $800 loan after making $500 on it? I don't know what your question is, but if your income, Lita, is Social Security or a pension and you have a debt, you don't need to pay it. Okay. They can't collect from you. You'll be fine. You can always call us with questions. If I don't answer a question here on YouTube Live the way you like it, or it's a little bit more complicated or something, you don't hesitate to call us 855-435-7787, and we'll be glad to go over it with you and answer your question. This person contacts us from Missouri, and they said, "Good morning. This time I'm just requesting general information regarding debt regarding debt, uh, and I'm looking for resources. I'm disabled, have been on Social Security disability since 2012, also have a lot of medical debt, etc., etc. So whatever you couldn't let me know, what you could let me know, I'd appreciate it. Thank you for services in advance. Thank you sincerely. Well, you can listen to our YouTube videos. You can look at our website, www.helpsishere.org. You can look at our other YouTube videos, or you can call us on the phone. We'll go over your situation with you. Okay. Now, this person contacts us from Maryland. Um, I live below the poverty level. I have Medicare, and by law, I'm unable to afford his supplemental insurance. Therefore, I must pay a 20% copay. I am happy to pay, but I can't. Meanwhile, I have reached out to MedStar Medical at least 7 times to ask for a payment plan, and they have ignored me. I sent them all but about $200 remaining of the bill. They've turned me into collections and have stopped sending invoices. It is disgusting. It's bad enough that I am sick, disabled, and now old, and people wonder what's wrong with you. Okay, if you're on protected income and you owe some medical debt, you can stop paying it. Now, if it's your own doctor, you could pay him, $10 or $15, whatever you think you could afford a month, something. But as far as these other creditors, you don't have to pay it. Your Roland helps. We're going to send a cease and desist letter out to any medical collector that you owe money to. We probably don't want to send it to your own doctor because that could be like rubbing salt in the wound, and you could just send him a token amount. Remember, they're getting most of their money from Medicare. Okay, so I don't see doctors kicking people off. It just doesn't happen. I mean, I've heard of it happen, but it's pretty darn rare. Okay. So Ketchup says that I guess you owe some debt. You got sued from a credit card. Let them file. What do you think? You should ask. What do you think? Just let them file. Well, if you owe the debt, they can't collect from you. If you're not working, okay, they can't touch your Social Security or your pension. It's protected. Now, if you are working, uh, it is possible they could garnish your wages depending on how much you make, but some states don't allow that, and the federal law protects a minimum of $217.50 net per week in wages from garnishment. But once again, states like, you know, Texas doesn't allow garnishment. South Carolina, it's hard to garnish. Some states protect more than $217.50 net per week in wages from garnishment. California, Nevada, many states. Okay. So you can call and talk to us. We'll be glad to go over your situation with you. Okay. And then once again, if you're getting Social Security, when that money's deposited in your bank account, twice this amount of federal benefits you get is automatically protected from a judgment if they were to try to garnish your bank account. So Dottie says I get 1,100 in Social Security. Curtis said it's going to charge off if they don't pay the amount they requested. That's just typical thing they do. It's just an entry on your credit. Who supplies the forms 1099C and 982? Okay, if your only income is $1,100 a daughter, you're not required to file taxes. And if they're trying to tell you they're going to file 1099C, the IRS isn't going to follow up on that. They know the IRS knows that your income is only that small amount in Social Security. They're not going to require you to file a tax return, even if you owed it on a 1099-C. Okay. Uh, anyone tells you have to do that, you call us. You don't really need to do that. You know, don't need to worry about it. If they were to ever do anything, you could file it later, but they're not going to do anything. I know. We represent thousands of clients with these issues. You know, no. If your only income Social Security is $1,100, you're not going to have to worry about a 1099-C. See, that's a 1099-C. If you don't know what it is, that's a form that a creditor files if you owe more than $600. It tells the IRS you didn't pay a debt, therefore that should be ascribed to you as that you'd have to pay taxes on that. Well, even if you did have to pay taxes on it, your income's so low you qualify for what's called currently not collectible status. The IRS computer knows that, so they're not going to bother you about it. Okay? Okay. I guess we're running out of time. Everyone's saying goodbye to me. Maybe at the end I'll just be all alone here. I keep talking to the end though. Okay? Because I have all these questions that I've written down. And if I don't talk to the end, then I feel a little bit guilty. So I've got another 8 minutes to go. So I'm probably going to go for at least 6. You're right. Hit the like button if you're going to live. And you can put a comment or you can put a question and we can address them in the comments. Oh, here's one. This would be a good way to. A client called me to say, Eric, I've got cancer. I'm having difficulty walking. And I live in an apartment that's upstairs. And I'm on a lease and I need to get ground level. What do I do? Can I break the lease? And I told her, I said, okay, I'll read this. Based on your health, you may be able to request a reasonable accommodation from your landlord to move to a lower level unit under the Fair Housing Act. The Fair Housing Act requires housing providers to make reasonable exceptions to the rules to give people with disabilities an equal opportunity to use and enjoy housing. Yeah, and there's a procedure for you doing that. And I sent her an email on how to do that. And they'd have to give her, if they've got a lower unit available, they'd have to make that available to her and let her move there. Now, if they don't do that, she said, well, I'm on a lease till next year. And I pay like $1,700. And I found a place I can rent for $1,200. And I said, well, I mean, if you move, which you can move, and I said, how are you going to do that? Do you have first and last? Someone will help me. She said, I have first and last, but someone's going to help me. Well, if you sign up with that new place and move, and you walk from this lease, there's really not anything they're going to be able to do to collect from you. Your income, Social Security is protected. I doubt they'd sue you, but even if they sued you, they couldn't collect. And if you've got a new rental agreement with your new place you're at, you'll be okay. Okay. Um, and there's a procedure for doing that. So in other words, there is a federal law that tells seniors that, if you're at a place you're living, they have to make accommodations for you if they've got something available. So this person contacts us from South Carolina. They get $2,400 in Social Security and $900 in a pension. Their age is 89. Lives with his daughter who gets Social Security disability. They have a home, but it's in both their names. And they don't intend to sell it. Owns a car outright. He owns Capital One, a lot of money. Can't pay it. So he could stop making that payment. If Capital One sues him, they could get a judgment. They can't take the home, can't touch his Social Security, they can't touch his pension. And if he owns the home jointly with his daughter with survivorship rights when he passes away. If they were to sue him, get a judgment, when he dies, the judgment goes away. The home automatically goes to the daughter. This is what we told him back in July, and then he called back. He's getting a surgery. He says a little bit confused about stuff, and then he called us on Thursday. It looks like, and it looks like he enrolled with helps. He understood what we did, and he didn't want to have to worry with that Capital One credit card was bothering him. Okay. This person contacts from California and says, I was served a summons by a debt collector for a credit card debt. I was just awarded permanent disability and Social Security. Are you able to help me? This is my only income. Yes, we can help you. If your income, Social Security, pension, disability, yeah, your income's safe and you don't need to pay the debt. If you don't want to have to deal with the collectors, you're going to roll in helps. You're going to send them a cease and desist letter. They're going to leave you alone. You're going to be our client literally forever. So if you ever have a question, you can always call us. We don't want you to worry. Ketchup says, so is a credit card debt considered unsecured debt? Yes. Yeah, the only secured debt would be like if you had a car you bought from a car and they have the title, or if you had a mortgage. Okay. Yeah, but most of our debt is unsecured debt. There's a few little exceptions on stuff. This person contacts us from Ohio. They say, I'm retired as of 2017. I lost my husband 3 years ago and have been overwhelmed with new responsibilities. I have debts from taxes and credit cards. I need work on my house and repairs. Can you help me with these things? Well, I can't fix your roof or repair your house. I can't do that. But what we can do is if you've got debt that you're dealing with, we can represent you so the creditors can't bother and you'll have that money available. And we'll be able to help you to deal with the taxes, state or federal, what to do. Yeah, you'd be surprised. You know, our main mission is to protect seniors from collectors harassment. Our second mission is to educate seniors how they can maintain their financial independence. So that's why we have these YouTube live videos. We talk about other things. And so this person from Ohio, um, yeah, we'll call them back. Or you, if that's you, call us. If you have other questions, call us and we'll go over this with you. There's a lot of things. If it's state tax, you're not going to have to pay it. If it's IRS, you can get on currently not collectible status. Um, if you got a lot of equity in the home, we might be talking to you about a reverse mortgage. There's a whole lot of different things that we will talk to you about to be able to help you. So we're near the end. So what should I give a court to answer the summons? You don't need to do, if you owe the debt and you're on Social Security, but you don't need to do it. You don't need to. The only reason you would answer the summons is if you're going to contest the lawsuit. But if you owe the debt and they can't collect it, there's no need to do anything. Okay? Don't need to do anything. I have a copy. No, if you've been sued, catch up. You contact us, give us a copy of the lawsuit, and then we're going to send a letter to the attorney who sued you, let him know that your income is protected, can't afford to pay the debt. You're not going to have to go to court. You don't need to worry. So give us a call. So it's been an hour. I want to thank you for participating. If you have any more questions, call us 855-435-7787. I'll be on same time tomorrow. God bless. Have a great day.